Hey folks, Rob here bringing you another unboxing, and I just got this in the mail. It was actually waiting for about 2 weeks now. It was sitting in customs because living in Canada, like that, you know what's going on if you know what's going on. So I finally got it in my little hands, and let's open it up and see what's in it. I've already cut off the address labels. You don't need to know exactly where I live. I'm sure some of you've already figured it out. In Canada, just west of Ottawa. And we paid. Hope you can get a screen grab of that. And slaughter at Ponyri. And they included these, which are markers of some kind. I'm really not sure what we need markers for in Squad Leader. We have more than enough counters to represent stuff. I don't know what those are for, to be perfectly honest. But we have Slaughter at Ponyri. It's finally in my hands. Ordered this back in, I think it was December or earlier. And we're going to unbox this right now, so let's see what's inside it. All right, so here we go. Slaughter at Ponyri, Battle of Northern Kursk Salient, 7 to 9 July 43. This is one of the historical modules, so we got the nice cool cover. This is number 13 in the historical module numbering system. What do we have in the back? Looks like we're going to have a lot of flat terrain. We're going to have a crap load of new counters in here as well. So we have 4 22 by 34 inch maps. We have 8 counter sheets, so I'm going to have to get more Reiko storage, I think, to hold all this new counters. 12 scenarios. We have the chapter SP, which probably should be SAP. I believe somebody pointed out in Game Squad this is wrong. It should be SAP. We also have 3 chapter dividers and the usual information as well. Yeah, so let's see what's inside. All right, so we get the usual card in the side, which has the same information as what's on the back, so we already knew that. And yeah, you can see how it should be SAP, not SP. So there's a typo on the back of the cover. Nothing new there. All right, so let's look at the SAP Slaughter Ponyri first. This is the actual historical module part. We have the 3 maps, how they lay out, including... the 4th map section involves some overlay where the 2 overlap, so you don't have to worry about mapping or seeing how the 2 lay out like that. It's funny, we're dealing with tank battles, but we actually have to worry about hand-to-hand fighting as well, so it's kind of funny. And booby traps. Now we have flaming mines. That's interesting. Flaming mines. We have debris, so that's a carryover from Red Barricades, and then, of course, Festung Budapest. Train OBA. Interesting. From the artillery trains out that are off-board, I suppose. Interesting. Russian airborne units, very cool. Yeah, it's going to be interesting storage-wise to see all the new counters as they come out, the new boards as they come out, all the new rules as they come out. It's going to be interesting trying to stay ahead of all that. Not too bad. We've only got, what, 1, 2, 3, 4 pages of new information. We have Lake Grain, which is a new terrain feature. Out-of-season orchards, we've already seen that before in Festung Budapest. Just depicted on the map is out of season, so you have your standard orchards already, so there's nothing new there. Wooden fences are something like what you would see in Kampfgruppe Piper. In this case, they're basically pertaining to hedges, so it's just different graphics, but it's treated the same as your hedges. Nothing new there. Tanks and storage yards, like lumber yards, I assume. Yes, yep, lumber yards. And again, rail cars are making their way into just about everything nowadays. Let me get into the campaign rules. Now, these are all standardized. You have your campaign SSRs, which are, again, fairly standard. Nice colorful graphics on the actual campaign dates. Now, this is only, they break it down into different days. Yeah, so AM, PM, AM, PM. So each day is broken down into two segments, I suppose, which is nothing new given the relatively short time frame of the historical module for the area. They only fought over it for 2 or 3 days. And again, if you've done any historical modules, the way that they're run is exactly the same, which is very good because if you had to change the rules for every historical module, trying to remember everything would be very difficult. So it makes sense that they would have everything the same. I see that they've gone back to the purple for some reason. I'm not sure why. This used to be the color of the freakish color of the SS and the old Camp for Piper module, that color of purple. I don't know why they went to that, but here we start getting some more examples of perimeter determination because for some reason it's very hard to understand. I'm not sure why. Well, I shouldn't say that. It took me a while to understand it myself. Now it's fairly intuitive, but I can see where difficulties arise, especially when you get into complex situations like this, when you have different levels, you have pockets, upper and lower, isolated units, you have overlapping areas. It could get kind of confusing, and alternating hex grains as well. Here's our reinforcement groups. So you can buy, normally you'd have, it's just interesting, you have strong infantry, and weak infantry. Normally you have just infantry, and then you would have full depleted or weakly or heavily depleted kind of companies. In this case, you have strong infantry and weak, and you have full, or I guess overstrength, normal, full, and depleted, etc. down the, which is interesting. Like, I'm not sure what a full strength strong infantry would be compared to a depleted. You know what I mean? Like, they're exactly the same. Just one costs a little bit more. Maybe one gets more weaponry. I'd have to read more into the actual, but to call them the same thing, infantry companies, weak infantry company, they're composed of the same units. Just the number of actual units that you get are different. So it must be in terms of heavy weaponry. Yeah, so you have full, depleted, lightly depleted, moderately, and heavily depleted for infantry units. And the same with, well, the Russians are a bit different. They have assault platoons, guards company, as well as rifle and machine gun platoons. Well, you do get a modifier when it comes to actual strength of the actual strength of the company itself. So there is that. A strong company, you get -3 to your die roll, which means you're never going to get heavily depleted. The worst you get is lightly depleted, where you have to undergo some ELR replacements. So I guess that would make sense. Interesting. Yeah, I'll have to do some more reading into that. I haven't given this at any read. You just saw that I've unboxed it, so I actually have no idea what any of this actually looks like. And then it's fairly short for a campaign. Again, it's only 3 days. And then we have our miniature maps where you can do all your planning on. Again, photocopied, or probably the best bet's laminate them and use a Sharpie or a Stadler. Right, got the good old counter sheets. So let's look at these. Typical counters. Again, we're going to have more Russians than you can shake a stick at. We've got Russians in red barricades, red October, red factories, Festung Budapest, Valor of the Guards. several other ones that are out there that all have Russians attached to them. So you probably have more than enough Russians to shake a stick at. But now you're going to have more infantry. I don't think we need more infantry. Registration seems to be looking okay. Typical high quality. Now, according to a recent round table that Kurt Schilling had, I'm not sure if these are the latest that come out of their latest printing effort. I think their planning was to go to China to cheapen the cost of overall printing. So I don't know if that's the case. But these ones do look very nice, as always. With everything MMP's done lately is looking really sharp. Here we have the Russian airborne units, so you will need those with airborne insignia. That looks very cool. So if you want to do a historical solitaire with a airborne company, by all means, use those guys. Again, you got some more white counters, and you have your specific weapon types for your first fire, second fire, etc. I always like to look at the registration like this to see how it lines up. This one gives you good indication of whether or not the die cutting is accurate. Registration, again, is always one of those tells you can see whether it's cheaply made or not. More Russians. So they even tell you which acquisition to use for which vehicle types. Now, it's going to get very difficult given the size with actual counters. You're quickly going to be running into, with the amount of counters that you're going to be using. I don't know how many T-34s that they have, probably a shitload. You're going to be running into a lot of counter mixing, and it's keeping track of what vehicle is which counter acquisition can be very difficult. I know a lot of guys like to play physical counters, but if you do this on SASL, obviously you can link your counters there, and it's going to be much easier that way. However, if you do it physical component wise, it's going to start getting quickly monotonous, I think, to keep track of what is shooting at what. It could quickly get unwieldy. I'm not sure what the campaigns look like, but I'm sure they're going to get quickly large. And there we have the 6 to 8 inch assault engineers with the demo charge icon. And now for something completely different, we get more Germans. So we have more 4.67s to throw into the mix. And it looks like we have some 4.47 sappers, which are a new squad type. They have the sapper symbol. And we also have 5.48 assault engineers as well. So we have, I think there's 4.68 assault engineers with the Denant historical module that came with Croix de Guerre. And then there's the 838s, of course. Now we have 5.48s. So the only thing missing is 4.67 assault engineers and 4.47s, but now we have sappers. So I guess we're just going to jump right over the 4.67s. But everybody's getting their own sapper icon, so I guess that's good. We're going to have more trays to hold everything. I love the clean artwork that's on the latest printings of the second edition ASL stuff. When you compare this to the earlier stuff, there's just no night and day, the clarity. Now, I don't own a lot of third-party stuff. Actually, I don't own much of anything except for some Lone Canuck and one or two Lafranc Tour. But so I can't compare over much the printing. But I definitely really like the MMP products when it comes to their printing choices. They made a good choice with their printers. So hopefully whoever they pick for China is doing a bang-up job as well. All right, back to the Russians. and some more system counters. Yeah, see, look at these are all for the T-34 M43s. I mean, you're going to have a field of green counters, so keeping track of what's what, you better have your bifocals on to keep track of all that. All right, so here we got the 5.8s. Now we're getting into the Germans here. We got a lot of Pan's Jäger Tigers with that huge frickin' 88 double long, the elephant. A couple of Sturm Panzers in there. Look at the size of this tails on this gun here compared to the barrel. 155 is very nice. You need more sniper counters because you never have enough. And then, of course, we have some replacements for the Allied miners. I'm not sure why. I believe it's some kind of errata that came out to replace them. At any rate, you have to replace them. That is an awesome tank there, the Panzer Jagdtiger. I just can't get over the tails of that 155. All right, here's our missing T-34s because you just never have enough of those. We got a complete mix of them. M34s, or M43s, I should say. And I think those are M42s. A couple of T-70s looks like. And a mix of guns as well. And, of course, more counters for you to use. I don't think they need to tell you necessarily what to use for which gun. It's obviously going to be for your own interest, but once more, you're just going to get inundated with counters, and you're going to forget which is connected to which. You're going to have to do a lot of record keeping to keep track of all this. Nice crisp lines. Die cutting is looking very good. And then one more. This is the last one. We got more debris counters and trenches, and of course a crap load of wrecks. You're going to have plenty of that, I have no doubt, at the end of the day. Gray FFE. I'm sure this is for the railway OBA. To differentiate it from the naval OBA and your regular standard OBA. More acquisition for your T-34 M43s. And your KV monster tanks. Yep, SAP. All right, so these are our chapter dividers. We got 3 of them. Standard with most historical modules, you're going to have your printouts of the maps on the back. So these are the 3 maps. Now, again, one of the maps, the 4th map, is a combination of the 2. So rather than replicate that one, they just give you the 3 here. And on the flip side, you're going to have the important campaign information you're going to need. These are all your sorting boxes for your different units and forces. When you lose them and such, you put them into different things. And of course, your scenario aid card for the actual historical campaigns themselves. All right, so we're going to go through this quickly. Again, I'm going to be screening out the orders of battle so that you have to get it yourself. Don't want people to get a freebie out of this. These are going to be using mostly the given maps that come with the game, obviously, and scenarios set in and around those maps themselves. This first one is number 1, Expelled, uses most of the southern map, and these are going to be fairly large battles, I would imagine. So, and for that being said, they only have 4 SSRs, which is pretty good, I would say. What they don't have is amount of time to play, which would be nice if they threw that in. Just as a little, one of those kind of things that gives you an idea how long it would take to play. Given the size of the forces, we're only looking at about 20 or so units for the Russians. The Germans are coming at them with, what, about 25 or so, with half a dozen or so vehicles and guns. You're probably looking at, what, 5-6 hours maybe? This one's not too bad. We look at Pomeranian Fury, and here we're getting into the double cards already. We're looking at variable Orbat for the Russians. So you can buy things like Mine Factors, Hip Squads, Wire and Trench, increase your booby trap level. And this uses most of the central map. Wide range of forces set up all over the map. Again, you're looking at 20-ish squads, a lot of guns, mix of everything. And the Germans are on the assault once more, and they are also coming at them with, again, 25 squads, and looks like almost 10 tanks. So, and varying types. Number 3 here, we're looking at the Stu-42, as well as a couple of Stugs are coming in supporting the German assault. This one's fairly small. Looks to be the T map. Number 4, variable conditions. Again, you're earning victory points based on several things like eliminating AFVs, controlling a certain hex, or stone building rubble locations, and or rail car hexes as well within a certain radius of it. You have Russians attacking Germans this time, and it's a mixture of your typical guns and armor. So it's... oh, Russians receive train OBA. Isn't that nice? A mixture of Pete Schelling and Kurt Schelling so far. Designs. SAP number 5 looks to be half of board N. And we have, it looks like we're getting a couple of the elephants in. Germans on the defense, 7 turns. Once more, no time frame on how long it takes to play. I kind of got spoiled with that because the Lone Canuck Publishing always, tends to put the timelines down, which again, just one of those things that lets you know how much time to invest in one of these games. It's really kind of cool. This is interesting. You have 2 elephants which are both immobilized in various hexes. So which one of the problems that they had with the vehicle, because of its mass, it just was not really suited to some kinds of terrain. And typically they were used as heavy assault guns in the front because of their heavy armor and such, which unfortunately meant that Russian tank hunting teams were able to take them out quite easily because of their forward position. So rough recess, number 6. 5.5 turns. This one seems to be quite short, I would think. Not even 10 squads on the defending Germans with a couple of tanks. And you have 14 Russian squads with 3 tanks assaulting. Although they are KV-1s, and you've only got 2 mortars defending on the German side with one 50 long AT gun. 50 long against a KV-1. I don't think that's going to be a good match. Number 7, we're getting a little bit bigger, 6.5 turns. We have a wide mix of defensive fortifications and guns, and OBA as well. One thing I haven't noticed is much in the way of air support yet, unless I've missed it. I don't think either side gets it so much. Russians are defending this one, number 7, and Germans are attacking, and they have 20 squads with, we're looking at around 10 vehicles. Pukov's push, number 8, uses most of the board. I don't know why they just slimmed off a sliver of it. They should have just used the whole thing, but 20 Russians or so tackling 18 German squads. Mostly infantry, which is kind of funny given the terrain you're looking at. And again, we have variable conditions. Chaz Smith scenario. Schoolhouse Rock, number 9. Very small segment of the board, 6 turns. And Russians are on the defense with the KV-1 to help them out. Apples to oranges, number 10. Very small segment of the board, once more, 6 turns. Germans get some variable fortifications that they can purchase, so you don't know what you're getting. And we have Russian airborne units, 12 of them, coming in to assault the Germans. So this is kind of cool. I like these kind of strange scenarios like this. Oh, this is night rules too. So Russian airborne units attacking at night. That is very interesting. I don't think I've ever seen that. And they're stealthy as well. Well, the Germans are lax, so. All right, Onslaught resumes. This one is a huge monster, 12 turns. Uses all 3 maps, and you can see from the blanked out screen that it's got a crap load of stuff. So this is the German side on the other back of number 11. And you can see the SSRs take up 8 of them. It looks like we got rocket OBA, normal OBA for both sides. I don't see any air support, which is really the only thing missing from this. Huge numbers. I mean, you have 60 plus squad. No, Jesus, more like 100. There's got to be 100 plus squads for the Russians, and we're looking probably something similar for the Germans, just on a quick glance. Oh, I see. You have 4 reinforcement groups for the Soviets, and you can select 3 from the options. So you have an additional possibly 50 or so coming on to support the 60 or so you're starting with. But yeah, you're looking at least 100 or so Russians defending, and the Germans are assaulting with comparable numbers. Wow. Huge. And then we have 11th hour, number 11. And again, we have Russian airborne defending against Germans with 1 SSR. I love it. Stone rubble counters. Nice. 1 SSR. Very simple game. 5.5 turns. And he uses just a central portion of map C. All right, so what we're looking at here is the 3 maps. There is a 4th one, as we said, which overlaps the bottom 2 to the right. We'll look at that one in a second. You can see with the amount of grain that lines of sight are really going to be hindered a lot. There's only the 1 elevation that I can see, and that's the 1 railway. So aside from that, it's going to be a lot of flat terrain. So maybe not as much lines of sight as I thought, and you're going to have to get nice and close in. So let's zoom in, and we'll see what we can see. So we have light grain, we have regular grain, several wooden buildings and trails. There's the level 1 hill mass. I assume it's a level 1 hill. Then we have the central rail depot in the center. Nice, gorgeous map artwork. Love it. Railway that goes nowhere for some reason. And there is the one I just laid on top here. You can see it, how much it overlaps the central piece. So you can just have most of the fighting occurring on the one central piece, the T map of the four. All right, so there we have Slaughter at Pondry. I'm quite satisfied with my purchase. Again, I had to pay an extra $35 of customs. It's typical, nothing to be, nothing unheard of. Warning, choking hazard, small parts, so don't let your kids be chewing on your squad leader stuff. That kind of makes sense. Once more, it comes with a little baggie of these. Don't know why. I guess I can use those for my other non-ASL games, maybe. Tile spacers, if you want more tile spacers, so if you do tiling work. But yeah, 7 to 9 July 1943, quite a not a great showing by the German forces. The Russians knew what was coming. If you know the battle, what happened there, of course, they built this very much layered defense, let the Germans wear themselves out against it, which is what they did, and then they cleaned house. So it was also the debut of the Penn's Jaeger Tiger, the elephant, and I guess it performed okay for what it was, but because of its the way it was deployed, it wasn't the smartest move, and it quickly got taken out once the Russians learned how to deal with it. And because it was deployed forward so easily without the proper screening force, it was relatively easy pickings for the Soviets. So, yeah, 447 sapper squads. Interesting. And we have 458 Russian airborne units, which were kind of missing. You don't see very many scenarios with Russian airborne units, I don't think. So that's kind of cool. And Fanatic Outpost. So yeah, Slaughter at Pondry. Let me know what you think. I think this is going to be a good one. We're going to have rather huge battles. I don't know if I'm going to play this with the maps or strictly Vassal. With the number of counters, just being able to link your acquisition is huge. Let alone having table space to set up your maps is something that is nice to have. If you have cats, forget about something like this. You're just going to be losing everything in relation to your setups and such. Record keeping is going to be interesting because well, you're going to have to keep track of everything. So you're going to have a diary, multi-page diary for every game that you play. But if you like ASL, you probably like that kind of stuff anyways. And I know I do to some degree. But the simplicity of Vassal games with head-to-head with somebody is just, you can't beat it for things like this. So Slaughter at Pondry, let me know what you think, and we'll see you guys next video. Bye-bye.